this week, wrapping it up, the title suggested was Gentle Cosmic-ness. Okay? I've expanded that because I'm playing with that word cosmic and I'm really digging it. So we're taking it in both directions. It's cosmic gentleness, gentle cosmic-ness. All of it, all inclusive. Because that's kind of what cosmic means. I mean, I went looking for a real definition because we use that word somewhat lightly and somewhat indiscriminately. And first definition of cosmos is simply the universe, okay? The cosmos is this universe that we live in. But it goes deeper than that. The word cosmos implies an order to things, a connection of all the moving parts, a wholeness that the word universe might not give us. So the cosmos is a universe that is connected to itself, conscious of itself, living the love that it is. That's our cosmos. So when we say we are cosmic, when we choose to live cosmic gentleness, this is big. This is all. This is whole. And that's what I'm talking about today. Definition of the cosmos from Carl Sagan. The cosmos is all that is or was or ever will be. Our feeblest contemplations of the cosmos stir us. There's a tingling in the spine, a catch in the voice, a faint sensation as if a distant memory of falling from a height. We know we are approaching the greatest of mysteries. Approaching it, yes, and approaching the awareness that we're in it, and it's in us, that wholeness, that allness, right? Ernest Holmes, no, wrong, get my order together here. Richard Buck, in a book called Cosmic Consciousness, says, the universe is a living presence. The cosmic order is such that all things work together for good of each and all. The foundation principle of the world, or of all the worlds, is what we call love. And see, there's a reason I confused that with Ernest, because that sounds just exactly like what the science of mind teaches. The good of all contained in this wholeness, the one life expressing and experiencing as all these beloved individuations of itself, working together for good. That's what we're engaged in. Sometimes it doesn't look like that, but that's the truth underneath everything that's going on. Everything going on in this unified oneness, wholeness, allness that we call the cosmos. So yes, Ernest Holmes, author of this Science of Mind, founder of this philosophy, he teaches us how to use that idea, that feeling, that knowing for our own expression of good, for our own highest good and the good of the world. When he tells us, this came from Science of Mind magazine, it was published in October of 2001. He says, affirm that you are that larger thing, that you are now entering into that larger life. Feel that something within is drawing more to you. Live with the idea and let the concept grow, expecting only the biggest and the best to happen. you will soon find that a larger and greater experience has come into your life. Okay? Because that truth of the bigness has always been there. It's up to us to speak our word into our own mind until we remember that's our truth. And then we can start actually seeing it show up. Just as Reverend Sue Ellen spoke to, don't focus on, oh my goodness, all of that's going to go wrong. Focus on the bigness we are and invite it to show up in our lives. And in the lives of everyone around us, in the lives of those folks that we love and those folks we don't like so very much, in the wholeness that is this cosmic dance that we do together. That's what we're working on. And something I want to play with this morning is in feeding into this idea of a cosmos that includes everything we know about and a whole lot of stuff that we haven't even paid any attention to yet. Levels of life that go outward and upward and downward and all around us, and bring them all into this conversation of how to love on that cosmic level, how to be that cosmic gentleness and that gentle cosmic-ness. I was tickled into this idea a little bit back on the Earth Day prayer vigil that was put together to Zoom into by Centers for Spiritual Living. And one of the prayers that was offered was actually spoken in Hebrew, and it not only affirmed the good of the planet, but in support of that, it called in the archangels, the 4 angels standing around the speaker of the prayer, adding their support and their power and their intelligence into that prayer. Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, calling upon the angels. Now, I'm not a big angels person. It's not that I don't accept the idea of angels. Of course, why not? Why do we think we're the only game in town here? Why can't there be beings with different powers and different attributes? I personally don't call on angels to work with me. I know folks who do. They get a great sense of community out of that. So why not? Why not? Call on those archangels. Assume and expect that there are beings different than us, bigger than us perhaps. Different powers, different attributes out there, up there. Okay? That's one direction to take it. Now, what if we take it, and this is, don't hear the judgment in this word though, oh boy, human speech does that. Take it downward and littler. Take it to all of those beings that we share this planet with that are littler than us, that are operating at a different level of consciousness than us. All the bugs and the birds and the fish and the plants and the animals, why not? Why not pay attention to all of that consciousness energy and pour our love in those directions too? In support of this, a bumper sticker on a little red car in front of me on my way to church this morning had a picture of a possum, and it said, "True patriots break for America's only native marsupial." All right? Honor the possums. Okay, that's an intention. That's a prayer to say we have somebody sharing our town with us that's worth a conversation, a connection. Yeah, let's hear it for the possums. Why not? And then earlier this week, I came across a news story that was explaining that just this month, nearly 40 researchers had come together for a presentation at a conference at New York University to present this document that they had signed that was the New York Declaration on Animal Consciousness. It seems that studies in just this past decade have thrown out a whole lot of ideas about, oh yeah, they're not really conscious, and have opened doors to noticing all this sentient activity that goes on in this planet that isn't human. We share consciousness with other beings that we think of as lesser than us. Jonathan Birch, who was one of the signers of that document, he's a professor of philosophy at the London School of Economics, and he's a principal investigator on the Foundations of Animal Sentience projects. I like it. He had this to say about this era and this document that they were presenting. He says, this has been a very exciting 10 years for the study of animal minds. People are daring to go there in a way they didn't before, and to entertain the possibility that animals like bees and octopuses and cuttlefish might have some form of conscious experience. And in this article, interviewing Birch, they referred to a couple of studies that have happened in the last few years. One I had heard of previously, you may have as well. It's the idea that bumblebees like to play. And they figured this out by running an experiment where they gave bumblebees these little wooden balls that are unlike anything that's in a bumblebee's normal frame of reference. And the bees decided it would be fun to roll those balls around, okay? And that is not comparable to any of the normal natural behaviors of those bees. It doesn't look like how they clean up their living quarters. It doesn't look how they talk to each other to attract a mate. It was just apparently fun. They noticed that younger bees tended to do it more than the older bees. They noticed that the male bees tended to do it more than the females. Any parallels to other species we know going on there, you think? They noticed that if they gave the bees balls in a room that was one color, and then took the bees out and offered them the chance to go into a room of that color or a room of a different color, the bees chose the color that had the balls in it before, because they were having fun. They wanted to do it some more. Bees like to play. That implies consciousness. That implies sentience. And that's bees. Okay, another experiment that I had not heard of until I read this article involves the cleaner wrasse. Wrasse spelled W-R-A-S-S-E. It's a kind of little fish. They're 3 to 6 inches long. The word cleaner is in their name because their main function in their natural environment is working on bigger fish to clean off the parasites and the dead skin cells and stuff. In fact, they set up cleaning stations, and the big fish go to these stations and have a spa day, right? The little fish work on them for an hour or two, and then they swim away. Well, they took cleaner wrasses, they put 10 of them in a tank with a mirror. They covered the mirror at first so that the fish just got used to having this thing in the tank with them. And that took a couple of days. Then they took the cover off the mirror so the fish could see their reflections. And the first reaction for most of the fish, some of them didn't react at all, but most of the fish saw, oh, an intruder, an enemy, a rival, and started trying to fight with it. And that went on for a while until the fish got bored and figured out that fish in the mirror wasn't fighting back. And then they just kind of ignored it for a while. But then after a couple days, it was like they started getting curious of, well, what am I looking at? And they started maybe actually realizing it was their own reflection. Because they started doing these weird things in front of the mirror to see what got reflected back. They swam by it upside down, which they don't do in their natural environment. They started learning, okay, I think that's a reflection of me. And then to take the experiment a step farther, the scientists took the fish and made a little mark on them that looked like the parasites that they pick off of the bigger fish. And you got to realize a fish can't see a mark on the side. They're not made that way. But the fish went to the mirror and they saw that mark and they went and tried to scrub it off against a rock or the sand on the bottom of the tank. Just like you or I would stand in front of the bathroom mirror and say, oh, missed a spot. The fish recognized that's my reflection and it's telling me I got a spot that I want to get rid of. That is consciousness. That is self-awareness. That is something they never expected. Another quote from Birch. He says, the sequence of steps that you would only ever have imagined seeing with an incredibly intelligent animal like a chimpanzee or a dolphin, they see in the cleaner wrasse. No one in a million years would have expected tiny fish to pass this test. But that's because we weren't looking for it. Now we're starting to look for it. We're starting to notice maybe other beings think too. Maybe consciousness isn't just a human thing. I think that's pretty good. And I think it's wonderful that we are learning to look upward and outward, angels and extraterrestrials, and downward and inward on our own planet to the bugs and the fish, and saying, okay, I think we're in this consciousness thing together. And how are we going to bring that into our own awareness of how we want to be gentle with each other, and each other just got a whole lot more inclusive, didn't it? Gospel according to Lin, you can disagree with this if you want to, but I think someday we may discover that rocks can think. They just probably think their thoughts much slower than we do. Why not? Consciousness is bigger than we think it is. And to quote one of my favorite movies from Men in Black, Agent K said, 1,500 years ago, everybody knew the earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, everybody knew the earth was flat. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. Yeah. Open it up. Embrace it. Send our love out to all these places that we haven't even thought to do so before. And recognize our connection to the wholeness that's operating on all these levels, that's operating in all time, in all space, in a universe that is more complex and exciting than we might have ever thought before. Now, the implication with the bees and the fish and so on is that no humans have thought until very recently that there is consciousness in these other life forms. And we know that's not true, because we know that the mystics and saints that knew their connection to something bigger than the humans who said, oh, that animal can't think. That's just a machine with a heartbeat. St. Francis, right? St. Francis absolutely knew the consciousness and his connection to other life, the animals, the birds. There's a wonderful story told about Francis. It's retold by a woman named Lin Nowicki in her book, Rooted. And it's a story of Francis being called upon by the mayor of a town that was being ravaged by a wolf. Fearsome. People were dying. The guards that they sent out to kill it came back bloodied themselves. And they'd heard about Francis being able to deal with animals, so they called on him for his help. Now, the way that story is most often told is that Francis tamed the wolf. But Haupt tells the story differently. She says, no, Francis didn't tame the wolf. Instead, he listened to it. It's a quote from her. He stood in the wolf's presence, respected the animal's wildness, apprehended her story, called her sister. And then when he returned to the village, he told them what he'd learned from the wolf, that she was injured, that her pack had deserted her, that she was lonely and hungry and afraid, and that she defended herself when she was attacked by the humans of the village. And with Francis's help, they were able to reframe how they thought about that wolf and do something about it that was useful. With that new information, there's also a quote, the townsfolk helped the injured wolf find food, and they coexisted without fear. Oh boy, that is such a big metaphor for how we can live on our planet. How we can live with the animals, certainly, but how we can live with each other. Because don't we have some folks in our experience that we have labeled dangerous villains that we got to do something about? What if we learned how to listen? What if we noticed the anger and fear and confusion that's at the heart of the acting out of some of these folks that we label so wrong and so different from us? What if we interacted from a place of cosmic gentleness and gentle cosmic-ness? What if we centered ourselves, as Reverend Sue Ellen's exercises gave us room to do? Centered ourselves in being our best selves rather than reacting to others who are in reaction and not not being their best for themselves or for anybody else. Valerie Kaur calls that seeing no stranger. Title of her book is See No Stranger. And a long quote from her. She says, seeing no stranger is an act of will. As I move through my day and come across faces on the street or subway or on a screen, I say in my mind, sister, brother, sibling, aunt, uncle. I start to wonder about each of them as a person. When I do this, I am retraining my mind to see more and more kinds of people as part of us rather than them. I practice this with animals and parts of the earth, too. I say in my mind, you are a part of me I do not yet know. The squirrel says, hi, yes. I practice orienting to the world with wonder, preparing myself for the possibility of connection. Yeah, okay, so there's an example. We can tell the squirrel, we love you dearly somewhere else. Go find a home that isn't our ceiling. Yeah, why not? Why not? Oh. So I have one exercise for us today that I hope will bring us into this bigness that I'm talking about, into this wholeness that I'm talking about, that will center us in the knowing that the cosmos is our home, and we are a home to it within ourselves, all connected, all one. And that is that very simple mantra that you have all heard, and that is simply Om. Now, I love the practice of mantra as a way of calming down all the yagada thoughts that go on in my head. But many will tell you that the sound and the feeling and the intention in Om is bigger than that. That it's basic, that it is the root of the cosmos. So let's just try one together right now. Just hear what it feels like in you to be that sound. And we'll all forgive each other our voices, because they are what they are, including mine. Deep breath, and out the out breath. Om. And again. Om. And once more. And I'll tell you what we're doing with that, because it's bigger than just making a sound. Indian author Amit Ray tells us this. He says, Om is not just a sound or vibration. It is not just a symbol. It is the entire cosmos. Whatever we can see, touch, hear, and feel. Moreover, it is all that is within our perception and all that is beyond our perception. It is the core of our very existence. If you think of Om only as a sound, a technique, or a symbol of the divine, you will miss it altogether. Om is the mysterious cosmic energy that is the substratum of all the things and all the beings of the entire universe. It is an eternal song of the divine. It is continuously resounding in silence on the background of everything that exists. So with that awareness, let's try it again. Om. Om. And let's us just let that be our prayer together today.